What's going on? It's been a minute since it's been a few days since I uploaded a video. I kind of took a break because I hit it in the month of October hard and heavy, doing about a video a day. And I just took a few days to take a break from saws and upload content and spend time with family. So I'm back to doing my thing. And putting out a video a day has really helped the channel. YouTube gives you 12 months to get 1,000 subs and 4,000 watch hours, and the shorts don't count as your watch hours. So that's why I've been making some longer videos. I'm pretty close in both. So if you like what you're seeing, if you wouldn't care, subscribe to the channel. And also, I know sometimes I get to rambling and stuff. A lot of people don't like that. Some people don't mind it. But if you don't care, just let it play on your TV if you got something else to do, and let it run, and it'll help me on the hour. So anyhow, also, I'm just going to mention it. If anybody would want to, or if anybody wants to or whatever, don't feel like you have to. And I'm not begging to or anything like that, but I did link my PayPal account to the channel. It's in the about section of my channel, and or depending on how you watch it, there may be a donate button up there in the banner. So I did do that. I know some people like to do that. I don't know how that works. I don't know if you get to write it off or whatever. I know sometimes donations are tax deductible, but I don't know how this kind of deal works. And it may come to, if I start getting some donations and whatnot, after a while I ain't going to be able to do it the first one, but people that donate or whatever may be eligible for some kind of prize or something, not, like a giveaway deal or something. I haven't got that far into it yet, so I don't really know. To my giveaway winners, everyone that was waiting on something, you should be getting it. I shipped it yesterday evening, and FedEx told me that Redman and Jersey Josh, your stuff should be there Sunday, and Michael Kirk, your saw should be arriving Monday. So if you don't get it within like the middle of next week sometime, I know FedEx sometimes runs off or whatever. I ship FedEx because I have less trouble with them as far as wanting to kick back stuff, and they're fairly reasonable and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, you should be getting it. But today's video is about the suspension of like the 400 and the 500i. Of course, the West Coast Saw suspension kit, it's great. It works very, very well. It stiffens the saw up tremendously. It's well worth the money. And the Proline AV buffers is great too. But I went above and beyond, and these saws would be okay even if you would have left them bone stock. People ain't upgrading the suspension on these because there's something wrong with the factory parts or whatever. They're doing it because they don't like a saw that floppy. And STIHL is not the only one these days that has floppy saws. To me, the 5 Series Husky are pretty floppy as well. So, take that how you want, it is what it is. But what I've been doing is I got me some flat rubber shims, some thin rubber, and I'll show you. Try to bring you over here and show you. And I've glued them to the saw. and that puts a little extra, shims it out a little bit, makes that buffer tighter to the saw body. And I did the 500i the same way. I did right here. I put a little oil because I got a little glue on that bigger buffer, like the factory buffer, and it stuck to that little piece of rubber, so it's kind of slid back some on me. I don't know how long it'll stay in there. I haven't run them, and I did this this side as well. Like I say, and I put a little oil there so it dried, but you know, it should stay. The only thing I'm worried about is that as you work the saw back and forth, you know, it might kick that out. But if it's sliding well enough, it shouldn't do that. This one kicked this one back because, like I say, I had glue on the buffer and glue on the outside of that rubber, and it stuck the two together. So, which I don't care, that's fine too, as long as it, you know, if it'll stick and stay and not work itself out, I really don't care. But another thing I done, I had ordered, you know, that extra West Coast saw suspension kit. You know, at first I used the foam buffer in the 400C, and then I used one of the grommets in the 661, the upgraded grommet, and I had one left. And what I done was I have dripped, and I still have done it, but I ended up messing that buffer up. I cut it too short, and then I pinched it in between the handle, and I'll get to that here in a minute if I can find my light again. So what I've done is I've drilled a hole in the end of this piece. I took all this apart and drilled a hole. I put that buffer in and left it in there because I thought, well, it'd be easier than getting it on right here. And it was, but the only problem is it pinches in between the handle. If you put all this together first, then the hole in the end of the handle will let that go in. And you got to cut it down some because it hits where the screws, and I'll show you. But anyway, I messed it up because I wanted it tight right here, and it wasn't tight. I was having trouble getting the handle back apart or back together because of me already having that buffer in. I should have had it out. So I thought it was too wide putting in the bind, but it wasn't. So I trimmed it down too much, which I had it in there, and it did stiffen the saw up, but there was a little more play than I liked. But these West Coast saw buffers are a whole lot wider than like this 500i factory buffer, and it would let that set half and half on that rail. So what I've done is I've added some JB weld in here because I'm using a smaller buffer. That is. I'm sorry I'm shaky, but I've got you on the stand. But I've got this JB welded a little bit in there, and that'll let that not get caught on this lip and rip out, is what I'm afraid of, because it'll sit in there, you know, like this. And like I say, the big one, if you got like an extra, and I may end up having to order me another suspension kit just to get the grommets, or trying to look for the bigger, heavy duty grommets. But like I say, you'll want to get all this back together, then try to put that in. Because if not, when you go to put the handle on, if you've got any extra little meat there, it gets caught in and then it gets pinched. And instead of me taking it apart and trying to get it out, I ripped the other one out to see what the problem was. Anyway, it was a deal. But this should work. Once that JB weld sets up, it'll just keep it from being so floppy, because it's pretty tight this way. Now, since I got that rubber in there, but this way it still lags a little bit, and you can tell it's about to hit right there, you know, and it will. Hear the clap, and it does hit. So I'm trying to keep that from doing that. To me, I don't think the saw should be floppy enough that it's bottoming out on itself. So I'm hoping to put this rubber grommet in there and fix that issue. But you got to cut a little bit off the back of it, the part that goes in, but it don't matter because if you cut it snug, it should be pushing against itself, and you still got that little ring to keep it from pulling out, you know. And then I had to cut a little bit off the end there because every one of them was too wide, and I can't find the big like West Coast saw buffer, like the upgraded buffers. I wrote the only one I had, but it would have worked without putting the JB weld in there, I think, unless you moved it far enough like this, you know, unless you was pulling up on it and got it hung on this lip. Either way, I put a little bit of JB weld there to get rid of that lip so the buffer won't get hung. And you know, I'm hoping it works. It should work. But if it don't, you know, all I've got to do is I'll just have to get me another one of these pieces or leave the hole in it. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Might get a little sawdust in there. Or if it becomes an issue, I might put a little JB weld. But anyway, that rubber grommet will stiffen it up tremendously. And once this JB weld dries, I'll put this in here and I'll show y'all how much it changes it. Because even the one that I had in there, it only filled the gap halfway. Like, it was half the distance. Say it was an eighth, and you had an 1/8 inch gap, and it made a tremendous amount of difference. It really did. So it really helped it out. But anyway, that's just what I wanted to hop on here and show y'all real quick. And I even put a little piece of rubber shim in this end right here. No, excuse me, in this end for that Proline AV. And you don't get the clap of that white thing hitting that. So, not something that you necessarily got to do, but if you want the saw to be stiffer, I think this will be helping it out. So, anyway, my supper's here, and I'm going to get off here. We'll catch y'all later. I'll see you on the next one, and thank you.